Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm going to be sharing with you 3 different dinner recipes that me and my partner Nick have been cooking over the past few months. Kind of just been a little bit more creative since we've been stuck inside. This video is going to kind of be filmed over the course of a week, and while I'm here I might as well also mention we have started a separate vlogging channel, so I'm just uploading a few more vlogs and things over there. So if you want to go and follow that channel, I will leave the link down in the description, but you can also search it I think by just searching Amy and Nick vlogs. So hopefully I'll be uploading a little bit more over there. Anyway, so I'm going to jump straight into the dinner recipes. I'll take you with me over the course of this week. So, for dinner tonight, we are going to be making a paleo pumpkin soup. I'm obviously here with Nicholas. Hello. Nick is like the secret behind all of our cooking videos. Well, all of my cooking videos. Nick really enjoys cooking, so he often is very involved. So tonight we're gonna kind of split it up, I guess. I'll probably do like the vegetable chopping, and I always leave him with the chicken, raw meat, like cutting all that up because it's not my favorite job. Tonight we're doing a paleo pumpkin soup, and I will flip the camera around and show you all of the ingredients and maybe pop it on a screen as well in case you guys want a screenshot. Let's go. So for this pumpkin soup, it's probably going to make enough for 2 nights, although this pumpkin is huge. So we have a pumpkin, we have a chicken, so avert your eyes right now if you don't like looking at raw meat, but we have a whole organic chicken that we're going to cook, debone, pull all the meat off of, 3 cloves or so of garlic, a whole red onion, we have a can of coconut cream. So this one is quite good if you're in Australia. This one is BPA free. Then we also have some salt, pepper, and Nick will take us through all the spices.
Oregano, sometimes some cinnamon, coriander, a little bit of turmeric to get extra yellow flavor, bay leaves in with the chicken, same with cloves to kind of develop the stock. So I'm going to basically cut the chicken into portions to kind of give it more surface area to cook, so that it's going to be a little bit of quick to be able to develop the stock a bit easier. Got to expose a bit more of the bone and cartilage, which is what gets the juicy flavors of the broth. Yeah, we'll also, I forgot to mention, we'll need some ACV to help kickstart that stuff. So I'm just going to discard the little tail part. There's a little gland at the back here as well that's kind of not so great for cooking, but otherwise everything else kind of goes in, and we can get rid of any parts you don't really want, like any of these wing tips.
So we have our chicken all cut into portions inside our pot, and now we're just going to add in a few of our spices.
So I've got 4 cloves, about 2 bay leaves, then enough oregano to cover the top of it, probably about a tablespoon or so, a splash of ACV, and cover it with water.
Okay, meat is cooking, and while that's happening, I am going to start cutting up our pumpkin using just half of this because it is so massive. So I'm just going to chop that into decent sized chunks, and then I am going to pop it into our little baking dish tray and get that going in the oven at about 180 degrees for roughly 30 minutes, or until the pumpkin is fully cooked through. So I'm going to get started. I'm just going to pop this straight into the oven at 180 degrees till it's nice and soft. There's no need to add any oil during this step or any salt and pepper, because we're going to salt and pepper the whole dish later. So you can really just pop it in exactly as it is. Okay, so I'm just going to chop up our onion and our garlics. So we have 3 cloves of garlic and a whole red onion. So I'm just going to chop this very roughly. It does not have to be perfect because we're going to blend it all together. So So Nick has just completely boned this chicken, so this is how much we got out of it. And then we also strained off all of the chicken broth that was in that pot cooking with the whole chicken. So we're going to be using this for the base of the soup as well. So don't chuck away that water because that water is really important. Alternatively, if you didn't want to cook an entire chicken, you could just cook up some chicken thighs and you could prepare about 1 liter of broth at home. So whether you use a concentrate, whether you have a bottle of broth, that would be another option if you don't feel like going to all this trouble. Okay, so we've just popped a little bit of oil into this pot that we use to cook the chicken, and we are just going to pop in the onions and the garlics. We don't have to cook it like all through completely, but just sauteing it a little bit before we blend it. Okay, so now that the onions have been cooked for a little while, we're going to add in our chicken broth. And now we're just going to put in all of our cooked pumpkin. Blend it up with a stick blender. Okay, so we've completely blended down the soup so there's no lumps in there and like all of the pumpkin skin. Now I'm just going to chuck in our coconut cream. So we've got a full tin of that. Then I'm going to do half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander, and half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. I'm going to pop in our chicken and then we should be all good to go. Okay guys, so today is now Wednesday and I'm just about to make our dinner. It's like late afternoon, but I'm gonna make a start. And tonight I'm gonna be making a paleo shepherd's pie. So if you're following us over on Instagram, you have probably seen me make this like a few times because it's one that we have had on repeat. So good. I'm gonna get started and I'll show you guys what ingredients you need for this recipe. For this recipe, we're going to need 2 large sweet potatoes, about 6 fresh tomatoes. You could also swap these for canned tomatoes, 1 red onion, and about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, a big bunch of silver beet. Or if you don't prefer silver beet, you could use spinach, but I really love silver beet because it's got these really nice tough leaves and it's full of folate. In terms of meat, we're going to be using 500 grams of organic lamb mince. You could also swap this for grass-fed beef. And then I'm also going to be jazzing this up by popping in about 100 grams of chicken livers. So that's around 3 to 4 chicken livers. Liver is really rich in iron, B12, zinc, folate. It's a really good superfood to pop in there. And if you're scared of the taste of liver, I promise you will not taste it in this dish once we are done here. And finally, in terms of spices, we're going to be using about 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of thyme, 4 cloves, 2 bay leaves, 1 teaspoon of sage, about ½ teaspoon of chili flakes, and a teaspoon of salt. So first things first, we are going to start preparing the sweet potato mash that's going to go on the top of this shepherd's pie. I am using 2 giant sweet potatoes that are roughly the size of my head, and I'm just going to be chopping these up into fairly large chunks and then boiling them in a pot of water. So the only thing that I like to keep in mind here is that we want to make sure that the chunks aren't too small. So I find that the smaller you cut the sweet potato, the more watery the mash gets. So if you want like a nice dry mashed potato that's going to go crispy in the oven, just make sure that these are cut fairly large. So we're going to leave the potatoes on to boil for roughly 20 minutes. So you want to bring it up to a boil and then just kind of let it slowly simmer until they're nice and soft and you can pierce them with a fork really easily. And that's pretty much when you'll know that they're done and ready to be mashed. But otherwise, I am going to get started chopping the rest of our veggies. Okay, so I've just popped the onion and garlic into this oven-proof dish that we're going to be cooking everything in. And now I'm going to go ahead and chop up the tomatoes. So I'm going to take 4 of our tomatoes and dice them up really small. And then I'm going to take 2 tomatoes and I'm going to slice them up really thin so that we can layer them over the top of the pie. So as you can see, we have our diced up tomatoes that are going to go into the mince, and then I've also just got these ones that are sliced up that I'm going to be layering over the top of the mince. I'm just going to wash and break up some of our silver beet. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to chop up really finely about 100 grams of chicken liver. So I'm using about 4 chicken livers. You could do 3 if you wanted a little bit less. Okay, so these sweet potatoes are all cooked, so I'm just going to drain those off and mash up the potato, and then we'll get started on the rest of the dish. So for now, I'm just going to set that sweet potato mash to the side and I'm going to get started on the mince portion. So let's get cooking. So before I start cooking, I'll just let you guys know that the type of pan that I'm using is a cast iron oven safe dish. So I can essentially cook this over the gas stove top and then I can pop it in the oven later. So another alternative, if you don't have this kind of dish, would just be to cook it up in a fry pan and then transfer it to an oven safe dish for baking it at the very end. So I'm just going to start by cooking off our onion and our garlic. So I'm going to add in about a half a teaspoon of coconut oil as well. Once the onion and garlic have cooked for a little while, I'm also going to add in our diced tomatoes and we're going to start cooking that down so that it's not too lumpy. So now that the tomato is broken down, we have more of a sauce. I'm going to go ahead and pop in our liver and then our lamb mince as well. And now I'm just going to go ahead and add in all of our spices. So I'm going to add in 2 bay leaves, 4 cloves, 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of dried thyme, 1 teaspoon of sage, half a teaspoon of chili flakes, and then just some salt to taste. So now that this has been simmering for a little while, I'm going to pop in all of our silver beet and just let that wilt down. So once the silver beet has fully cooked down, we're just going to turn it off and we're going to take our sliced tomato and we're just going to layer it over the top of the meat. And now lastly, we are finally going to put our mashed potato over the top. So now we are nearly finished. The final step is just to pop it under the grill in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes to try and get that top a little bit crispy. If you do dairy, this would be the time to grate a little bit of cheese over the top, and that is going to guarantee you that you get a crispy top. I'm gonna skip that step today just for the sake of this video and keeping this 100% paleo for you guys, but that is an option for you people that are tolerant to dairy. So today is Friday. You've been following us throughout our week, and tonight we are going to be making what Nick calls all-star chicken. Is that what we're calling it?
Star chicken? I don't know. Yeah, star chicken.
I'm gonna call it all-star chicken because I think that sounds cooler. So this is an Asian-inspired dish.
It's from star anise, hence the all-star.
This is a recipe that Nick actually learned from his dad. It's super duper simple. So I am going to let him take the lead in this video. He's gonna show you how to do the chicken component, and then I will take over the vegetable component, the healthy part. So let's get started. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 brown onion, 1 clove of garlic, 1 star anise, 1 chili, a can of coconut cream, about 600 grams of organic chicken thighs. For the sauce, you can also add about ½ cup of white wine, but this is completely optional. So if you're doing paleo and you're avoiding alcohol, you can 100% skip this step. Vegetable wise, we're going to be doing 1 whole sweet potato, 1 zucchini, a bunch of broccolini, and some shiitake mushrooms.
Alright, so we're going to get started on the sauce. First I'm going to chop up the onion, garlic and chili. Get started with that, and then we're going to throw in the chicken afterwards, but first, chopping. So I'm putting about just a normal tablespoon, not a full tablespoon of coconut oil into the pan. Then I'm going to cook off the onion till it goes translucent first.
So again, we're using a cast iron baking dish, so this is okay for being over the gas cooktop, but it's also fine for putting into our oven because we're going to be oven baking this whole thing like a bit of a casserole. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
So now I'm only putting in the onion because I want that to cook down till it's translucent. So you want to make sure that you're not caramelizing the onions. You want to make them go translucent. Take it slow, cook it on a low heat. If you need to add some water or some more oil along the way, do so. You don't really need to add too much, just enough to keep the onions from caramelizing. So the onion's starting to get a little bit clearer, so we're going to start adding in the chili and the garlic and the star anise. We'll also add in our can of coconut cream and our ½ cup of white wine. Give it a stir and then let it cook or simmer until the onion goes translucent. Okay, so the onions pretty much have very little color left, so we're going to put in the chicken. You don't need to cut them up, just put them in whole, lay them down and space them out as evenly as you can.
So we're using about 6 chicken thighs.
If you have to double them up, that's okay. Just make sure they all get covered by some sauce. So now we're just going to take this and put it in the oven. I've preheated the oven at 180 degrees Celsius. It'll go in there for about 30 minutes or so.
So while the chicken is in the oven cooking, I am going to make a start on the vegetable component of this meal. I'm going to be chopping up our broccolini, our zucchini and our shiitake mushrooms and sauteing them separately, just because I don't want them to get soggy being in the oven for too long with the rest of the dish. And then I'm also going to be chopping up and mashing our sweet potato as a source of carbohydrate for this meal. But if you weren't keeping it strictly paleo, you could definitely swap this over for white rice, or you could even do quinoa if you enjoy eating quinoa. So now all of our veggies are chopped up. I'm just going to go ahead and boil our sweet potatoes so that we can go ahead and mash them. And I'm also going to take our other vegetables and just saute them off in a pan.
So the chicken's done, we're going to take that out of the oven. So we can now put the veggies in here if you want, or you can leave them separate and just plate them up separately, but we're just going to put them in here because I think it'll be nice. Okay, so we are all done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did,
please don't forget to give it a like because it really helps our channel. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Let us know in the comments if you enjoy these types of videos or if you'd like to see more dinner recipes here on this channel. We do also have our second vlogging channel, which I'm hoping to upload to a little more often over the coming months. And otherwise, we will see you in the next video. Bye guys!